Hello, hello. Welcome to The Play That Changed My Life. I'm Patrick White, the president of the Capital Region Festival of Theater, and we have a supersized show today. We're going all out. May is an incredibly busy month in Capital Region Theater, always has been. Everyone's closing up their seasons, but today we have three guests. Today we have Ellen Cribbs, who is doing Things I Know to Be True by Andrew Bovell at Curtain Call Theater. Hello, Ellen.
Hello.
Welcome. Ellen has her own podcast, so I'm feeling very nervous now. We have Michael Nichols-Pate, who is doing Company with Dorset Players, my favorite theater. Don't tell the other.
No, it's beautiful.
Don't tell the other 5,000 theaters I attend, but Dorset Players at the Dorset Theater is awesome. Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you could be here. He's playing Bobby in Company up at Dorset Players. Definitely worth the trip. And also with us today, I'm very happy, Dylan Clements is here, and he is an investor, a theater enthusiast, and we've met him this year, and we're very excited to have you.
So glad to be here.
Yeah. This is Dylan's first podcast, so we're going to go easy on it. So, it's very exciting. The discovery, right? Theater is all about the discovery. So I thought I'd kick it off today. Just occurred to me in my mind. I said, we'd talk about a piece of theater news. And there's news.
That's putting it lightly.
And, in some ways, I get really jazzed, although it's not good news. But I get really jazzed when theater is in the national conversation. And, unfortunately, it is because Trump last Friday or Saturday targeted the National Endowment for the Arts and says, they're going to close it. They're not just, there were grants threatened, but now he wants to eliminate the National Endowment for the Arts. And there were a number of theaters that responded to it, and some rousing, moving responses. I know Miriam Weisfeld had a public statement that she put out. She was actually at a conference when the news came through, and one of her specific productions that was part of Next Act at Capitol Rep, The Last American Newspaper, which they're developing. It's a very local story. It's about the Glens Falls Chronicle, and the editor of the paper wrote this play, and the newspaper won a Pulitzer Prize for opinion for writing. But so there's all these responses to it. Anyone want to jump in with their response to Trump eliminating the National Endowment for the Arts?
Oh boy, where to start?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a scary time. I mean, on top of that, of just voices being silenced in the theater, I think is so scary. And so many productions so we were in mid-production, and now our funding has been pulled, and what do we do now, And it's going to be a big burden, I think, on the public, the audiences, to support these theaters and keep them alive with this pool of funding. But as you kind of said, sometimes that motivates artists to push further and to make their voices heard. So hopefully that's what comes out of it.
Yeah, right. Like with every hit to the stock market, although we have one of the biggest dives, with the announcement of the tariffs, the bounce back is going to be that much greater. I mean, not to be too Pollyanna about this, but it is a challenge, right, for us as artists and theater lovers to support and to work harder. And Michael.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because there's so much that theater does for folks, and it's a lot of times commenting and critiquing on what's going on in the world in a way that like film and other media forms aren't doing. And with this being cut off and with this kind of now existing and happening, it's what's that going to say or what's that going to do? It'd be lovely if people push back, but I'm worried we're going to have the opposite effect, and we're going to get a lot of sort of backtracking of all of the very, progressive, forward-thinking shows that we are seeing pop up, because folks are going to want to try and get the funding back and get money back. And you can't be super risky without the government assistance. If you can't get butts and seats, then what are you going to do? So we're going to see a lot of, I think, very safe shows appear, a lot of safe theater, there's a world for it and it's wonderful. But some of what's great about theater is that it does break boundaries and push back. And if there's not the funding to do that, we're not going to see that as much. And unfortunately, a lot of marginalized voices are going to be silenced because of this.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly how I feel too. I mean, it's not as if the theaters was super striving to begin with. It's always a struggling kind of industry, right?
Yeah, and National Endowment for the Arts is $250 million.
Exactly.
Not...
And we're talking national.
Yeah, not a great deal of money.
Right. There was already a very scarcity of that to begin with, and now you are missing the deeper thought-provoking theater, which is already kind of being pushed to the side to begin with for more guaranteed money-making productions, which are also amazing, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a different feel for theater, and that's what's so great about theater is you do get those multifaceted kind of point of views, but with that, it's you miss the more human aspect and what could be more necessary than something like that at a time like this, right? It's exactly the opposite. Like, that is what we need as a country, as artists, and everybody else who just wants a seat in the theater.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a quote, I'm going to mess it up. Moises Kaufman said at the Lortel Awards that totalitarian regimes, and he comes from Venezuela, go after the artists because they want to make the artists afraid, and that the artists, need to feel that, with that target gives them power because, we have the stage, like we have, and whatever, however you make art, but it will out, like the expression will happen, whether it comes from the Kennedy Center or, someone's, storefront.
Yeah.
But, any experience? National Endowment for the Arts, it's crazy cheap. And when you look at other countries, like Canada, London, the United Kingdom, what they spend, and, you see like the National Theatre in the UK have rehearsal periods of like 6 months and, develop these shows like War Horse or Curious Incident where they spend months, putting together these shows. And but the National Endowment for the Arts is still important because it's a seal of approval. It's a legitimization regardless of the amount. But that amount can be used to drive other donors, right? Anyone have any experience with the National Endowment for the Arts? I do not.
No.
Nope.
All right. That was a fertile area.
But I
Excellent.
think it also sets the precedence for the other things that we will have experience through down the road,
Yeah.
Giving the go-ahead that you can pull this might give someone who might have been on the edge the go-ahead to go one side or the other.
And I remember the battles, was it Reagan? The NEA-4, Robert Mapplethorpe, Karen Finley, not Christo, but they were targeted And they made a big deal because of, Mapplethorpe had some homoerotic images, and Karen Finley had very provocative performance pieces, and they trotted them out in front of Congress to show, like, look what these degenerate artists are doing. And that's how I discovered, what the NEA was, and Robert Mapplethorpe, and I was like, oh, he's awesome. Okay. So we're in a very busy month. Shifting gears. Brandon Jacobs Jenkins won the Pulitzer Prize for Purpose.
Oh,
yes,
excellent.
yes. That's how I met Ellen.
Yeah.
Ellen auditioned for Gloria. Brandon Jacobs Jenkins at Albany Civic Theater, these many years ago. So there's some good news.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
I love his work, and I want to see Purpose, so glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's a fantastic show, and he's so funny.
Yes.
He works with such serious themes, and he really is like, pushing all these buttons, but it's a great comedy.
Yeah, I say, and I've never had such a visceral reaction to a show as seeing Gloria in Chicago. And when intermission happened, I don't want to spoil anything, but when intermission happened, I
10 years
literally could not leave my seat. I physically could not get up. I was like, I have to just process for 15 minutes, and then I can watch Act 2.
Yeah, I read the play before seeing it, so it's crazy. But I had that experience with his play An Octoroon. When all the cotton comes out, I was like, there was a house that fell down, and it blew all the cotton up. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. So May, Tony nominations. Any thoughts?
I think that Boop really needs Jasmine to win it in order to stay open. I would love to see Jennifer Simard win the Tony, though, for Best Actress in a Musical. She was utterly perfect in Death Becomes Her, which was a great time. It was such a fun show, and I love that it's now going viral on the internet. I'm like, I saw that before. I saw that. I know what you're. It's just
Now,
great.
Very worth it.
there are a number of musicals made out of films, but somehow Death Becomes Her got it right. What did Death Becomes Her do that the others could learn from?
Leaned into the audience. Death Becomes Her went in and said, who is our audience that is still watching this show? Gay men. Great. Let's play up the fact that this is for gay men, and for women who are best friends with gay men, and we're just going to go from there. The beginning to end, it was just a fun time. It's not life-changing. Theater doesn't always need to be life-changing. And this it got it right. And that's the same thing with Legally Blonde. It's like, who's still watching this? Gay men. Great. We're going to make a show for gay men. Whereas with Ghost, I wanted Ghost to be better than it was, but it didn't get its audience right. It was trying to go very highbrow, very artsy, and that's not who's still watching Ghost. No, we're not watching Ghost for the high art of it. We're watching it for the camp and for the fun.
They did do some innovative technical things with it.
Which is super cool, but lean into the comedy a bit more of it, because it's absurd. The whole concept of it is absurd.
Yeah. Well, having a romantic relationship with your ex-lover who's dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfectly normal.
That's absurd. Another movie into musical that got it wrong. No, why are we talking about this? The Bodyguard. Did you see that?
I saw that on tour with Deborah Cox.
Yeah. She's amazing.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
because I saw it in LA when I was living there, and she phoned it in until I Will Always Love You. And everyone I was with, we were familiar with her, very confused as to why she's just kind of half on, half off. And then she got to I Will Always Love You, and we went, oh, that's why you were saving it all for this one single moment, because this is LA and nobody has any idea. So got it.
Excellent. Any reaction to the Tony nominations that you want to gossip about? Are you excited about Tonys?
I'm very excited. I'm a little biased, but I'm a little excited.
All right. I want to learn. Tell me, Dylan.
Co-producing John Proctor is the villain.
Oh!
I want them to do well.
Co-producing John
great.
Proctor is
It
the
was-
villain.
it was a
I
great
didn't
play.
even know
It was
this.
a great play. It was
A fantastic play.
very different, especially for right now.
Yeah.
It's a few years after dealing with
Yeah.
the subject of Me Too, but still very, very important, and much needed. Especially, I feel like we're going back in a cycle, right? Life
Yeah.
is a cycle, but now we're hitting that cycle all over again, just with a different flavor.
Have either of you seen this?
I have not had a chance to see
No,
it.
I need to see it.
There were moments.
They're only, I think, July 6th is the last day.
If they could extend that for me, that would be swell.
Yeah, ditto.
No problem. Let me just.
August is free.
August would be grand, actually.
There were moments in that where when the speech is about John Proctor, there's a lot more going on rather than just the focus on the crucible. There's a lot more. Every character has, a full, rich life, in that classroom. But there are moments when talking about Arthur Miller and John Proctor, I was like, why has this I've never heard this argument before. And I was like, this is like, the crucible gets done again and again and again and again. And you're like, it just totally like messed with me because I was like, how could I not have seen this?
I know it seems so basic at the end.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here we are. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending does leave you with a more realistic feel to how something like that should be addressed. And again, not going to spoil it.
Yeah.
You should see it.
Well,
but it's much more real life than I think anybody would be expecting going into that room.
yeah.
And the set is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the set,
Again, one set,
a classroom.
Perfect.
meticulous detail, but
A classroom. And with surprises.
Exactly.
I love
even
surprises.
the hallway is very like I don't think this is spoiling too much, but they come in through the door and you can see the hallway perfectly crafted. Even you look out
Yeah.
the window, make sure you look at the window if you go see it. The
Yeah.
lighting and everything that goes into this is just
Yeah.
it's amazing. So I'm a little biased. That's what I'm rooting for.
Oh, brag, bull. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the acting was fantastic. You really couldn't expect them to do anything better than they did from every single one of them.
So I'm glad I brought up the Tony nominees.
Yeah.
We have a Tony
Yeah,
nominee here.
seven
Do you-
nominations, including Best Play.
Do you
So we'll
get
see.
to go up on stage if it wins?
No, I'm not that cool. But we'll see. Hopefully, I'll be there.
You got a party plan?
We'll see.
Is there a John Proctor party?
I try not to get too excited about anything happens before it happens. So
All right,
we'll see
all
what
right.
happens.
Yeah. Ellen, do you know anyone nominated for a Tony?
I do. I know Jeremy Jordan. I went to school
right.
with him.
Oh,
so
he's great.
he was amazing in Floyd Collins. And I really hope, I don't know if Floyd Collins will beat out Over Sunset Boulevard for revival. I don't know. But I think he deserves the Best Oscar.
So did you see Sunset Boulevard?
I did.
And
I
did you like it more than Lloyd Collins?
Personally, I did not. But I think
Personally, you
the,
did not.
the world liked it more.
Yeah.
But I thought Sunset Boulevard was a very cool concept.
Yeah.
I think it got a little self-indulgent personally. I think there were times where it was just like, look at this cool thing we're doing. And like it lost me. I didn't
Yeah.
feel connected because of some of the more gimmicky elements of
Yeah.
the production.
Yeah, but the
personally-
drive down the Hollywood Hills.
Yes, very cool stuff. Very, very cool. Yeah.
It converted me to be a huge Jamie Lloyd fan, and then I saw Sigourney Weaver in The Tempest, and I was like, okay, okay, so I guess we'll take it show by show. Yeah, but I am excited. I've never seen Evita, and he's doing it this summer with Rachel Zegler at the London Hippodrome. So fingers crossed, hoping that goes well. Yeah, and then he's got Waiting for Godot with Keanu Reeves and Alex
Yes.
Winter.
Already have tickets.
Interesting.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That's it. But you got to be excited for whatever happens.
Come
right?
on,
It's a
yeah.
good experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a big Keanu Reeves fan. I'm sorry. I'm not.
He's allegedly the coolest guy on the planet, but
Okay. Good for
don't
him.
know.
Good for
Very,
Mr.
very
Reeves.
nice, I've
I
heard.
know it's nice to have So that brings up another point. I don't know if we want how much Broadway we want to talk, but with Dylan here, we have an inside scoop. Celebrities doing short runs on Broadway with $900 tickets. Not that Sadie Sink has a $900 ticket. I think we got those TDF.
It's not. Yeah.
I think we got those TDF for $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're reasonable.
Yeah, so Keanu Reeves is announced. He's a movie star. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big movie star. George Clooney, Denzel Washington. How much would you pay for whom?
I would not pay any more money to see a big name than your average amazing performer.
Agreed.
Yeah, that fame does not draw me in to see a production. at
No
all.
one. Meryl Streep.
No one.
Nope.
No.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
No.
Anyone?
I mean, I think it comes down to pretty much exactly what you said. It's like it depends on the performance. Like
Yeah.
if you have a great actor who may be a celebrity, then yes, I would definitely. But if you have a great actor who's not a celebrity, I would still do the same thing. I would pay the same whether they are or they're not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm always hesitant when it's a big name.
Right.
I mean, well, Meryl Streep. Maybe I'd be
That's-
excited to see Meryl
that's-
Streep, but like she has theater background, right?
Right, exactly.
It's the people who don't have theater background that
George
they have
Clooney.
a huge film career, and then they're like, I'm gonna go do theater, and it's such a different art form, and some transfer very well, and some really don't. And I've seen numerous big celebrities I was excited to see, and then fell flat because they just don't have that training on stage.
Yeah.
It's a different energy entirely.
Yeah.
And there's no
Yeah.
retakes, which is what I love about it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And even though we have microphones, the projecting is more than just your voice. It's more than, to be in a house of 1,000 seats that, it takes an energy and a commitment and
Your whole presence matters. Like we saw the Lehman trilogy at Cap Rep, and it's 3 people doing the entire show, and every one of them, no matter what role they were playing, you could feel the entire presence. I know it's a smaller theater than something maybe on Broadway, but I'm pretty sure even if it was on Broadway, you would feel it from the back seat.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it's all about, at least for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And frequently, the experiences, it doesn't need to be like when you think about the greatest experiences in the theater that you've had, you don't remember the ticket price. Like, or maybe you do.
Sometimes I go, why did I spend this money on this show?
Yeah, but it's like, great, impactful, memorable theater can happen anywhere.
Right.
So a lot of the times when Chris and I go down, most of the time we'll skip like the big musicals, like Outsiders, knowing that they're going to come to Proctor's. Like, we don't need, like yesterday, we didn't really need to go see The Great Gatsby, but it was a Thursday matinee. So we were like, oh, let's go. So that's why we went. But we get a subscription to Club Thumb. Do you know Club Thumb?
No.
They have a summer fun workshop down on the Lower East Side. And they do 3 shows. And it's all between the end of May and the end of June. And it's one right after the other in this tiny, not even 100 seats on, I think it's East 4th Street. And they've done Men on Boats. They did Deep Blue Sound. They did, all these new works that you're just like, this is crazy good. New works in this little incubator, down on the Lower East Side, and we loved it.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's like real pure theater.
Yeah, and I think the 3 plays are less than $100.
That's great.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's like $75 or something for 3 shows.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, Tony nominations and May, and here we are in May at the end of the Capital Region season, which most theaters in the Capital Region have a season that runs like September, October to May, right? Mm-hmm. And they're closing up their seasons, and Curtain Call has this isn't the end of their season, but
right, they do have one more. I feel terrible. I don't actually know that.
Yeah, I think they do. Theater people in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Thank you.
Yeah. But you are doing Things I Know to Be True by Andrew Bovell. He is an Australian.
Yeah, he's an Aussie, and this is the American version. So you're not hearing bad Australian accents on stage.
Ooh, I love a bad accent.
I mean, I watch a lot of Bluey, but I don't know if I could pull out an Australian accent.
Yeah, he wrote a couple of other plays that I really enjoyed, and I'm going to blank on them now. So
this is the only piece from him that I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a family. Tell us what Things I Know to Be True is.
Yeah, and essentially it's family. It's the complexities of family, and how, can you love someone too much? Can you not love them enough? And love mixed with stress and frustration and annoyance and a tinge of hatred, and how those can even coexist in a family at the same time. So, essentially Rosie has come home from a gap year, and she has her sister, me, and her two brothers and her mom and dad, and she feels like this is my safe space because I know my family. And then one by one things kind of happen with the family that break the norm, and it's all about all of them processing that and moving forward with their lives.
Excellent. And it opened last night.
We did.
And it runs short run, 2 weeks.
No, we go to the
weeks.
25th, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Through the 25th. And it's directed by Cindy Bates.
That's right.
And who else is in the cast?
Well, that's the thing. We've got the queen
is
herself, Carol Max,
drama
is playing
queen.
my mom. And she hasn't been on stage there for a bit. So, and Stephen Fletcher is playing my dad. So it's like the royalty. This is my first Curtain Call show.
Yes.
And I feel like I've been
Score.
brought in, with like the dream group.
You are the special guest star
That's what it
on
feels
this very special episode of The Love Boat. Yes. Yes. Steve Fletcher, Carol Max, together again, playing your parents and the other siblings.
Yes, we got Tiffany McWilliams. We have Jeffrey Stubbits. And
Chris.
Chris, thank you. Chris.
Anderson Ward.
The Anderson Ward. There we go. Thank you.
And I think it's
I'm
Stubbits.
terrible with last names that I'm like, what are their last names?
Yes.
I always think of their characters.
It's a podcaster's cursed.
Yes. If you notice, I always let Benita say the names on our podcast.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Benita's so good with names.
She's not.
It's a drinking game. You listen to everything theater.
Yeah, we do some editing.
Jeff
sometimes.
Stuvitz and Chris Anderson. Awesome cast. Like, unbelievable. Chris hasn't worked in a while, and fantastic. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And a challenging, interesting play. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's
And you
bring
checking
your
another
tissues.
off your list.
Of another
Checking
company.
another theater off your list.
Yeah, which is fun to be there because before I moved here, I was in Chicago. My at the time fiance was here, and we were trying to figure out where to move. And I was desperately trying to get him to Chicago, and it wasn't working. And he was like, "Come here, there's theater." I was like, "No, there's not," because I was in Chicago. And so he came. I was like, "All right, I'll come and see a show." So we saw Masha, Vanya, Sonia, and Spike, directed by Chris, correct?
Yes,
At their
Chris
old
Anderson.
space, and
Yes.
and it was lovely. And at intermission, I was trying to talk to people, and they're like, "Oh, talk to these two. They'll tell you about the theater." And it was Carol and Peter of Curtain Call, and they're like, "Yeah, no, move here. It'd be great."
Your
And here we
husband,
are,
Mark?
August 10th. Yes.
Yes, we have to get some kind of prize, some kind of award for Mark turning down Chicago and convincing me to come here. There has to be an award, and we'll make it an honorary and go around. It's like choosing the capital region over some other, city where the Pope was born or something. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Full
Mark.
circle for you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like all the connections. Michael,
Yes.
how are you?
I'm grand.
Grand.
Yes.
And you are playing Bobby in Company up at Dorset Players.
Yeah, it's great. Beautiful theater, wonderful group. I didn't even know they existed until I was approached by the director. I was in Drowsy Chaperone at Fort Salem. The director had seen me a couple of times. He approached me like, you have to come audition. I'm doing Company. I think you'd be a great Bobby. Please come out to audition.
What's his name?
Tom Ferguson.
Okay.
Yeah, he's phenomenal director. And then ended up auditioning, getting the part. And then about the first week or two of the rehearsal process, he got really sick. So his husband, Paul, stepped in. And then Tom came back, and Paul and him have been directing it. They're both incredible. They're very much play people. This is their first musical they've ever directed, and they're doing it together. But they're approaching it like how you would approach a play when you're directing it, which for Company works because it is very much play with music at times. And so it's just getting to work on the character development and navigate the story with them is incredible. Like I'm in awe, and I'm excited to do more work with them. With the theater company I didn't know existed until October of 24, and now I'm gung-ho jumping in, trying to just work with them as much as I can because it's been phenomenal.
Very
Excellent. It's about an hour and a half away from Albany.
Yeah.
And it is like the quintessential summer barn of a theater.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful wood. Mm-hmm. The lobby is like an old camp.
Yeah. It's cool. And they've had 97 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
They are already planning for their 100th season because that's a huge thing.
And this is the Dorset Players.
Yeah, the Dorset Players.
Which is the community group,
Yes.
which takes over the house in the winter months, or from September to May,
Yes.
June. And then Dorset Theater Festival, which is, home to Broadway transfers by
Yeah.
Teresa Rebeck and...
I'm new there. I don't know them all yet.
They had a play off Broadway last year, still with Tim Daly and Jane Atkinson.
Okay.
Is that her name? I don't know, Patrick. What are you talking about? Yeah, I think. But yeah, this is the community theater.
Yeah.
Which does, they have a few productions a year, don't they? How many
Yeah.
did they do this?
So
Was
this
it
year
like-
they did Jekyll and Hyde. They did Elf. They did a one-act play festival that they do every year that was Valentine's themed this year. They did Meteor Shower, which was absolutely brilliant. I saw it, and I can't stop talking about it. And then Company is their closer. But yeah, they operate September till about end of May. Like we close on May 25th. May 26th is Memorial Day, and then May 27th, Dorset Theater Festival moves into the venue and takes it over for the summer. But yeah, it's a cool
Yep.
space. It's a cool thing too that both entities occupy the same space, and now learning about what happens at the end of the season and beginning of the season with the changing over of who takes over. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Awesome that community group gets to use
Yeah.
this house.
Well, they
through-
own the house.
Yeah, right.
So Dorset Theater Festival rents it in the summer. So it's a really cool, and it's cool that they work so well together and they share a lot of equipment. So they have a beautiful theater with a beautiful equipment that they get to use, or
Yeah.
that they kind of both get to use, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And top quality sets
Yeah.
and tech. I've mostly seen the theater festival. I love it. Dig came from there, and there was a play, Thirst, about the kitchen during a Long Day's Journey into Night by Ronan O'Neill. It's about the servants to the Tyrone family.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Teresa Rebeck directed that. Their set design, they have this brother team, the Swaders. Do you know Paul and Justin Swader? And then I think I saw a production designed by Dots, the design collective. Do you know Dots?
Oh, very familiar with Dots.
Yeah, they've become huge recently.
Yeah, they do a lot of the large macabre kind of sets, I'm finding.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Playing Bobby. We were talking about pro musica on Broadway, and I was coaching the singers, and one of the singers is doing Being Alive, and I was like, well, what am I going to tell these singers? Like, and I found out I had a lot to tell them. But Being Alive, he was sort of like, when we get to that, he's sort of been pulled through the knot, through the entire play, and he comes to the Being Alive, and what is he saying?
Well, I don't want to. I want to leave that open to the interpretation for the audience. But yeah, it's 2.5 hours. He gets dragged through all of his friends' relationships, his own relationships, kind of finding out why at 35 in 1970 he's unmarried, and because it definitely, in the context of the 1970s. It makes more sense. At 35, you should have been married, have a kid. All of his friends have kids, and so you get to that point, and it's raw. And I approached it, and in working with Tom and Paul, it was, don't approach it trying to just sound pretty singing it. Lean into it, like really, like it can be a little rougher as long as your point of view is coming across, and as long as because this is your moment to be likable. I find Bobby very unlikable. He's kind of awful to his friends. He's awful to the women he dates. And he's kind of just always on the periphery watching. And it's not until he has a conversation with Joanne, she makes a couple of references in that when she finally turns her vitriol from her husband and the people in the club onto him, that really stuck out to me. Specifically, she accuses Bobby of being a Robert Kraft case. And Robert Kraft was the man who made homosexuality a mental illness. He was the one who designated it as that. And it's in that moment, it kind of puts a little more light into it. Like, oh, is this a reason? And maybe that's part of it. It's just such an interesting role because it's so non-linear. You don't know where at any point in the show if it's taking place before or after the next scene. Like, it's just a scene with this friend in this moment that is funny, and then we move to the next one, and he kind of navigates throughout of it because it's all taking place in his brain and right in the moments before he decides if he's going to stay for the surprise birthday party or leave. And it's just it's the hardest role I've ever done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is the hardest role I've ever done. It's the most stage time I've ever had with actual physical talking, because I don't leave the stage. In mapping it out, I get to leave the stage for the first part of another 100 people, and then almost all of Not Getting Married. I come in, say one line, and then dip. And both that's in the first act. So I've never had such a incredibly impactful role like this that I get to really sink my teeth into.
You reminded me, I told you I was listening to this audiobook on the drive home yesterday, and it's How Sondheim Can Change My Life, which he stole the title from me, but which, I stole it from Theater Communication Group, or someone published a book called The Play That Changed My Life. Sure. Anyway, Sondheim had a collection at home of Japanese wood puzzles, which, unlike a jigsaw puzzle, which you're putting together to come up with the image, the Japanese wood puzzles you take apart. And I don't understand, but that was what his musicals do. Yeah. That you look at something and you take it apart and examine it, and it's not necessarily to come up with, a closed, fixed image. Yeah. Like, oh, now I know, but it's more like teasing meanings and significances out of, what he presents.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, as a lead,
Yeah.
without spoiling anything.
Sure.
What would you like the audience to leave those seats at the end feeling?
Ooh, that's a great question.
It's got a future.
Yeah. I would love the audience to kind of leave looking at not just their own not just the relationships Bobby had, but their own relationships on not because we're as a society, we can be very negative and looking at, okay, what do I like about my friendships? What do I like about my relationships? Because in every single scene, there is a moment that Bobby witnesses where these couples, some of them are like knockdown, drag out fighting. Quite literally, we have a fight choreography for the wrestling karate match that happens. And the scene ends with them looking at each other and going, I love you so much. And like having this really beautiful moment that, like, yes, you just watch them like berate each other and like nag at each other for 20 minutes of the scene, only for it to end in this really beautiful, like, no, we do love each other and like we have this really deep connection. I'd love for people to leave looking at their own relationships, their own friendships, their own connections of, what do I like about this? How does this impact me? Like, where's the joy that I'm getting? Because even with the bad, there's still joy. And I would love for that, I think, people leaving with that. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Dylan, you have
Yes.
John Proctor is the villain. Do you have any other shows on Broadway?
No,
right now?
not right now. We'll
No?
see what the next year holds.
What do you
This is a
looking-
new experience for me because,
okay.
Growing up in Manhattan, it's part of your culture. You don't get away with it on Broadway, off Broadway, anywhere you can see it. My grandparents were actually a big part of that. Even as a kid, I remember, I think I went to The Lion King like 6 times. And it wasn't even, I was a kid, I didn't really understand it all, but it just, when you get that feedback of what theater really is, it's just something you can't look away from, right? You don't understand why, but and here we are, and getting the opportunity to do that. And there's some other stuff in the works, but very much quote unquote in the works. So we'll see what happens.
Can't talk about that right now.
I'm
not ready to divulge.
A lot of stuff that's screen reading and
How
stuff like that.
did John Proctor come to you?
Kind of serendipitous, really. Talked to somebody who was doing something and was like, this is amazing. And I don't know how much you know about Sadie Sink's history, but before the whole Stranger Things.
Annie, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Annie. Also serendipitous.
We're all child actors.
I mean,
we're all girls.
You all need your Annie, right? But and that just kind of set things off for her, which is an amazing story in itself. And I just saw what the subject matter was, what they planned to do with it, and it was like, I can't say no to this, right? I had no idea it would end up as big as it is. I honestly didn't think it would at all. I thought it would just kind of go under the radar and just be an amazing subject matter that everybody should see, right?
Yeah.
But it ended up being, an hour and 40 minutes of something that everybody should see.
And it's a front runner.
Again,
I listen. I listen to the chats. It's up there.
It is. But yeah, it was very serendipitous, and I it was actually right after I saw. I won't get too much into the play that changed life right yet, but it's going to be Hell's Kitchen, and just based off of my experience there, right after this kind of fell into my lap, and I was just like, I have to, and then following it from step 1 to opening night and seeing everything transpire the way it did, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all of them who made it happen. I just got to be this person who put a little piece into it, but
what a great
very
trip.
proud of them all. Yeah,
it's a great show. It's a phenomenal show. And beautiful work by the entire cast. And like I said, it's not, John Proctor is the villain, is very prominent in it, but there's so much more going on and so many other topics and funny.
Yeah, I would honestly say John Proctor is kind of the background of the rest. It's kind of the spider of the web, right? It's really everything else that kind of brings it around the John Proctor. Which is why I also think it's great that that's the title, right? Yeah. Because yes, we always look for the title to be the kind of subject of the whole play. Wicked, Lion King, everything, right? All the major plays, that title kind of becomes the play. And while John Proctor is, it's ultimately everything that stems from that becomes the play.
I had heard about this play a couple of years ago, and I know Skidmore did it 2 years ago. So it's been, it's been out there for a while.
Yep.
But how awesome, to get, on Broadway, and
the talent there is just unreal.
Yeah,
unreal.
And the other nominee, Fina.
Right. I mean, there's
Strazia?
7 nominations, and I am not going to butcher anybody's name here. But I'm also not very good with names.
Yeah, a 19-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought she was the oldest in the cast because I knew there was a mix of ages, but I was just like, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all come on so simply. It starts off with this really very simple set of everything being placed, all the pieces being placed on the board, and you watch their talent just kind of explode into this crescendo by the end, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I did not expect from the first scene to the last, you didn't expect that huge progression.
Yeah.
And it's not about the glitz and glamour of Broadway. Yes, it's on Broadway, but that's not what it's about. And I feel like there are a lot of plays right now that's kind of their driving force, which great. More money for the theater is always great. But I just appreciate the ones that are really about being about theater, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this one feels like. I mean, a lot went into it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like that's what it's about,
I gotta say, I got a small complaint. I know we don't. I try not to be negative, but at Great Gatsby, I bought the tickets at TKTS at Lincoln Center, which I haven't done in a long time because usually I use TDF online because you get the tickets beforehand. You don't need to wait online, and it's cheaper. But I bought the tickets TKTS, and they were $100 each, which is, I don't know if that's cheap, but it's like the limit of what I would pay. And again, it was a Thursday matinee, and I go, and like the house is like 70% full, and I'm like, why isn't this on TDF? Why did I pay $100 for this?
Right.
And I was kind of like, And anyway, all right. So there's my old man.
You have both sides.
There's my old man.
That's it, exactly. I mean, I think we're seeing
get
this
off
kind
my
of
lawn.
this new era of side A and side B, and it's kind of interesting because that's the good and bad part of being capitalist society is that kind of decides it for you, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, I think after talking to all of you guys, we kind of are in agreement. You need both sides, but ultimately, we'll have to see what happens.
So I met you first time at Shakespeare's birthday party.
Right, yes.
We had on April 23rd. It was a huge success. I think it exceeded all our expectations between the turnout, the talent, the fun, it was just a great time. So I think there'll be another. But we met you because you came to a general meeting at U Albany about craft when we were just talking about what the festival is turning out to be. We had all the sites picked out, and we had some programming that was done. But we were just talking about how we're going forward, the success of the cast party, and what was going to happen. You were there. There were a bunch of people, representative from the theaters. And after the meeting, I had one of our volunteers reach out to everyone who attended, who signed in, and we got a very large gift from Dylan. How did you hear about craft?
Another serendipitous moment. It was actually right after I had kind of come on board to John Proctor, and I was talking to my wife because we had been going to New York and Broadway and all that kind of stuff, and I think it's similar to the Chicago end of things and your own ventures in New York. Growing up with that was kind of the epitome to me. But living up here, it was never really obvious where everything was. And I talked to my wife, and I was like, man, I wish there was something a little more local. New York is great, but it's almost 3 hours away, depending on how you get there. And I really do believe in giving back to the community that you're in. Water your own garden and all that kind of great stuff. She's like, no, there is, because everyone's got a great person behind them.
Yeah.
And we looked, and then there was Craft, some random Eventbrite event, and you had said all these amazing words about what you wanted it to be. And I was like, that kind of ticks all the boxes, right? And I go to the event really intimidated because here's all this amazing talent in one room, and just hearing you guys all talk about your experiences in the theater and just with each other. I was like, wow, I'm in the right room, but doesn't feel like I'm in the right room. But that was an amazing feeling, and seeing how passionate you guys were and how much heart goes into every single moment, not even every performance, but every moment. The way you talk about your performances, the way you think about your performances, and it's just so humanizing. I've watched it years. I'm 35, so 3 decades of watching theater from the other end of things, and watching the magic and the passion and the heart from that side of things is an amazing gift of its own. But then getting to hear about it front row and center from you all was just, it was really touching. I can't think of a better word, but it really hit me where it mattered. I think we all have that best play that we always remember. It was like that moment was the same thing for me. It made me realize how much, yes, you're not in Chicago, yes, we're not in New York, but why does that have to change anything about how we do things? Yeah, it's a little more gritty, a little harder to work, but what could be more important to give to? And for me, giving a gift was what I could feel like I could do the most right at that moment, because I don't have acting experience the way you guys do. I don't have everything else the way you guys do, which is kind of why I want to take it from that step in that meeting room and see how much further I can take it, both from a financial support perspective, but everywhere else I can, and really that moment when I saw you on in front of everybody else, and then everyone come after you, talk about your experience. It was that's theater, right? That moment to me just felt like that was theater.
Thank you.
And that was exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for people who felt the same way, even though we are not on your side of the things. We're all part of the same team. I know it's a really long way to explain.
No, I'm just basking in it. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because it's what we do, right?
Right.
Like that's how how we dream that we are contributing, or that we are active and vital and impactful, and and it's there are people in our own community, but who don't know all that is going on, all that is available, and
right.
or who are dismissive of what we do, and it's like, to me, it is so much a part of who I am. And there were times when I was cut off from it, or when I was blind to it,
right.
that have been the most agonizing, moments of my life. When I moved up here from Manhattan, and just to turn it around and to be able to create and celebrate others, it's just been, it feels like my life's work, so it's just like to hear it received. And, I understand you, it's like, oh, thank God, my work here is done. But yeah, it's just amazing. And we were so knocked out. We were like, yes. And we continue to be.
Yeah, I mean, look at all you've done in just a few short months, and that's amazing.
Yeah,
that really is. But I mean, even stuff from roles like Bobby. It's like, what could be more human than that? And I know you get on stage and you act this role that you put your own flavor into, because your own heart and soul going into the character. But it is a character written by somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of have this merging of people. And it's like that merging itself is unlike anything else. Every night is different. Every person is different. You know, when you go to a play, every Wicked role is different every time someone plays it, but it's still the same play, right? But every time you get a little different flavor, right? But when you have roles like Bobby that really make you kind of think about who you are, your relation to the world, and reverse the world's relation back to you. It's like to me, that's the most important part of about theater. It's also fun going to the random shows that are just kind of out of this world, right? But, you know, having those moments where you remember what it's like to be a human, and we're all just on this crazy world trying to understand what that is. We're not all as evolved as we think we are, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's the job of art in general, but to me, performing arts specifically, to kind of bring that back around and make us enjoy the experience in the moment, but then kind of dissect it after and be like, wow, that was, man, that was different, you know? Life is never the same after that play, you know? It doesn't have to be just one play. Every play but,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
you get what I'm saying.
No. The play that changed my life, it could be, you know, what I saw last night, which was awfully good.
Right. You never know what's
Which was
going to
awfully
happen.
good. I guess we are at that point in the conversation, unless you have anything to add about Dylan's comments, or...
No, I mean, just in total agreement. Yeah.
Excellent. The play that changed my life. Who wants to go first? Ellen?
Sure. I've been thinking about this a lot. Can I do an honorable mention and then
You can do
the real
whatever you
one?
want.
Okay, all right. Especially since we talked about Sondheim and how Sondheim changed my
Yeah.
life. So my honorable mention has got to be Sweeney Todd. I was the oddball growing up who would like read Macbeth. We're not in a theater, really. Right. I was sitting reading Macbeth in 4th grade at recess. Like, that's the kid I was, you know? And so I loved Sondheim, and I loved watching, you know, the stage production, you know, released on film with Angela Lansbury and, you know. And so I would sing that music all the time, and I was bullied horrendously in middle school. And every morning, I kid you not, I would wake up and I would play Not While I'm Around. And it gave me the courage to face the day of just like,
Wow.
okay, like I'm okay. Someone's got me, like I got a family that loves me and supports me. I'm getting teared up about this. But like it made such an impact, like just the music of Sondheim. So that's my honorable mention. But the show that probably changed my life the most was a really weird, obscure one called Dark of the Moon. Do you know this play?
I was in it.
You were?
Wow.
It was Marvin Hudgens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was Barbara.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I played her when I was 16 years old. Great role for a 16-year-old. And
she falls in love with the witch boy.
She falls in love with the witch boy.
As one is wont to do.
As one is wont to do. And yeah, it was a time in my life that my whole track, I was going to be a scientist. Ever since I like learned what geology was, I was going to be a scientist. And I was in a special science program in high school. I was like, this is my track. And then the more and more I did it, I was like, I'm just not loving it very much. And then I did that production at a community theater in Northern Virginia. And I was like, this is just really fun. I just love doing this so much. And especially that role. I mean, like she falls in love, she gets married, she gets pregnant, she gets assaulted, and then she like dies in the arms of her lover. You know, like it was such an emotional roller coaster. And to go through that, I was like, this is such an outlet to like express myself and be someone else. And so I remember going to my parents and saying, I don't think I want to be a scientist anymore. Like, what do you want to be? I was like, an actor? And luckily they said, okay, quit the science program. Go study acting.
Wow.
And that's
awesome.
And then here I am.
That's the first Dark of the Moon mention on this program.
figured.
But did you see Stranger Things on Broadway has a production of Dark of the Moon in the plot of the play?
Do they really?
They do. So it's going to become much popular.
Well, also there was a big stage production of it somewhere. My friend Adam lives down in the city and he works for a licensing company and was like invited to go to, I don't know all the details, but he was like, Ellen, look at this, because he played my witch boy.
Yeah.
That's great.
I did it at the Sanford Meisner Theater or something on 12th Avenue and 23rd Street, like in the river. And the guy who did it, it was like they had these homosexual undertones, like the witches were all men, very buff men in loincloths. But anyway, that's a topic for a different podcast. It was great.
After hours.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvin Hudgens. I was always cast as a bully because I was 6'2". So.
Well, my mom was also. I think it's the only show I've ever done with my mom in it, except for my very first play. And she was just knitting the whole play, and she knit scarves for everyone.
So at cast party, here's what I've been working on.
Yeah.
Nice,
Exactly.
nice.
Everybody shows up in their matching scarves.
Great, Michael.
Yeah, so I'll do an honorable mention since you started that. Might as well.
Got it.
It's a
The
new tradition.
First show I ever did was MAME, and that holds a special place in my heart because I had never done theater. It's what kind of kick-started it for me, getting to be Patrick Dennis in that. But the play that I thought also about this quite extensively, and the one that keeps standing out to me, it's fairly recent, and it is Jamie Lloyd's Doll's House that he did with Jessica Chastain. It was something about it just rewired my brain. No set, no props, no costumes, minimal light cue. And it was the best storytelling I think I've seen because you had nothing to fall back on. You had to be in it with the acting. Like there was minimal interaction. There was minimal that you could interact with. And they were all so tapped into what they were doing that I love minimalist theater to begin with, but then seeing it on this level at this quality, it stands out to me as something like I would love to create theater like this. Just be involved on the stage or be behind the scenes doing something that has this much impact and that you can do something so creative and innovative with it. And that is one of the most expensive tickets I think I have purchased for a show. And going in, I'm like, okay, I love Jessica Chastain. I didn't want to spend $125 a ticket, but I did. And I left going, wow, okay, that was worth every penny I spent. I would not spend more than that, but it was was incredible just seeing her at that level doing that, and then seeing how Amy Herzog adapted the Ibsen's material. And then she just did it with Enemy of the People, which I could not afford to go see because it was at Circle in the Square and it's tiny, and the way she's adapting and writing, I'm a big Amy Herzog fan. Mary Jane is another one of the shows that she's written recently that stands out. But yeah, for me, it's gonna have to be that Jamie Lloyd, Amy Herzog, Jessica Chastain, Doll's House.
Awesome. Cool. Mary Jane coming to Bridge Street Theater.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah, end of May. Yeah, they've been trying to get the rights to that for a couple of years. Great show.
Such a good show.
Yep. Dylan.
Before I get to mine, another question. I'm curious. So, being part of the audience and then being an actor, do you find that you like acting in the same sort of setting, role, etc., that those things that change your brain in a certain way, or do you find that the audience you and the actor you are completely different?
It depends on the show for me, at least.
That's fair.
I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, like certain shows, give me a minimal set, give me the chance to like stand on a stage and just pour my heart into it. Like I did a production of Cabaret where I was the MC, and we did it somewhat immersively. And it was absolutely incredible. We had no real set. We had minimal things to interact with. But then if I were to do like Sunset Boulevard, I would not like to do the Jamie Lloyd version. I would like the lavish set. And for me, it really is play to play. I don't know how you feel.
Cool. No, it's similar. Yeah. I always think like sometimes I wish I wasn't an actor when I'm an audience member. Because that brain is on so hard, and it's like, just take it off. Just like enjoy this. But yeah, I try to separate them. Yeah.
Very cool.
I think had a huge impact in the past few years is black theater. And I watch Is God Is by Alicia Harris, Octoroon, a lot of Brandon Jacobs Jenkins plays, although he doesn't necessarily write, his latest play is all about black family. But there's so many plays that I see that I'm not castable in,
Right.
that are just I don't know if they hit me differently but yeah, they definitely stick with me. And I always had a response, like I never had a dream role. When Moon for the Misbegotten came around, I was like, oh yeah, that's a great part for me. It wasn't like something that I was on the mirror and that I looked at every morning. And most of the things that have come that I have enjoyed immensely, I have not thought of. Bill W. and Dr. Bob, Destroying David. I mean, I would have no idea that even existed. So yeah.
That's great. 3 different flavors. The same question. That's once again what I love about this.
You got to get a podcast, Dylan.
But yeah, so I really thought about this because I haven't really thought about the one play because I feel like it for us has been more of a progression. A more recent progression. It's always been a thing, right? But and if I had to boil it down, I think it really started when we went to see Hell's Kitchen, and it was such a random play that we went to. It ended up just kind of connecting with me the right way. I was kind of open to it. My grandmother recently passed, and she has to deal with something similar, and it just kind of rewires something, right? It just connects you to the subject, to the material, to the actors, and then you're just kind of more open to receiving the rest of the message. And it just, that was the starting point. That kind of started me looking at theater completely different. Then we went to cabaret, we went to local stuff, Lehman Trilogy. I mean, it just sparked everything from there. And it just kind of opened up the magic that is theater, right? If you're open to it, even the most basic play or the more complex, like Bobby. I don't know if anybody saw Jagged Little Pill, who was here a while ago. And that was just... That's the theater that I didn't grow up seeing. That's the theater that I always wanted to grow up seeing. The stuff that really makes you think, this is what life is. And here, you can either look at it or you don't. You can either enjoy the surface level of this play, or you can enjoy the underlying tones of what the playwright and the actors and the director and the producers have all built for you.
Yeah.
If you're ready to see it, it's right there for you.
Yeah.
But you got to be ready for it, right? And not everybody is, which is okay. But the first thing comes down to getting people in the seats to see the play, to understand what it is. So again, another long answer, but it's like it really started from Hell's Kitchen, just connecting with that play. And even now, I couldn't even tell you exactly what it is. And I think that's also what theater is for me. In college, I took a Greek mythology class. And we all know what honor means and glory and all that stuff, but the Greeks had a very different understanding of what that is. Use similar words, but they're not the same thing at all. But we see it as that. And I'm sure a lot of you have done some Greek tragedies in your acting careers, but it's very different. And I feel like theater's kind of the same. It's like it gives breath to these things that we feel, but sometimes there doesn't need to be words for them, right? Sometimes it's the performance itself that just kind of brings out these feelings, and maybe that's just... I need to learn a little bit more about that side, but I think it's just sometimes it doesn't need words, right? It just needs to be felt in the same room with the energies from the actors and everybody else is putting us all together, and the audience included, right? Your random person next to you, you're all experiencing this in the same space, and sometimes that's just what you need to feel, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of where it started for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I had that feeling last night. Floyd Collins. It was very moving to be, fighting for him down in that well with 900 other people. And like the sanctity of, the individual, one life. Awesome. So we're going to wrap up today. Quick word about Capital Region Festival of Theater. We got the schedule. There are 7 venues, 4 days, 100 events. Go to the website, crftinc.org. Right now, we're signing up volunteers. We could use your help at UAlbany and the other venues. We also need to get the word out. So tell your friends, tell everyone that we're having this massive celebration of theater in the Capital Region. And we have literally, there's so many groups, so many individuals involved. I'm so happy that it's all coming together, and it's really just going to be an extravaganza of, Capital Region theater interest, talent, support. I can't wait. Look forward to seeing you there. At the beginning of the episode, we were talking about the NEA and how it was affecting people. And I know, the public theater and playwrights, and I read one from Hudson Valley Shakespeare, and it all came down. They all made their donation pitches. We need your support more than ever, and that absolutely is true. But I think, I'm always on my soapbox about attending theater, but it's we're defending democracy. It's like, to be a citizen in this country now, we need to attend theater. We need to show up, and we need to band together and be counted. What do you value? Who are you? And what do you want this country to be? And I think the best answer is to buy a ticket and to go and see some theater, and join your fellow citizens outside in a place where you all gather together to hear a story and share your common values. And you may not agree with everyone. It's not like you're sharing your common values as, you all know what you want in the budget, but that you're sharing your common values as we are all human beings who need to live together. No one lives alone, right? So, off my soapbox.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you all. This has been great. Best wishes on your shows and on your Tony nomination. And I'll see you all in the theater soon.